Hello again. Today I want to talk about food. Those who know me know that I quite like good food. Meals are really important though for all of us. For many of us, we have special memories attached to food. For example, I will always treasure memories of Friday evenings and my mum's chips, or the meal that Catherine and I shared when we first got married, and we'd made it to the hotel that we were spending the night in before we went off on honeymoon, and we sat down in a little balcony window thing, and I had lamb shank. It was a very nice meal, made all the nicer because of the company. We can have simple meals, we can have poignant meals. Today we have got to Maundy Thursday, as it's known. That time when we remember when Jesus shared his final meal with the disciples. That was a poignant meal. It was a meal that celebrated something known as the Passover, which reminded the Jews of God's amazing grace and active interest in their lives. It reminded them of how he had worked in their history to free them from oppression. When Jesus sat down with his disciples for that Passover, he instituted a simple meal, a meal of bread and wine. It's known by lots of different names: the Lord's Supper, communion, which means coming together, the Eucharist. Sounds fancy, just means giving thanks. And in the simplicity of bread and wine, there is a coming together with one another and with God. There's a giving thanks for what God has done in history, is still doing and will do in the future. They take on a significance far greater than themselves. Now, I'm sure that the obvious reading for me to read to you today is from one of the Gospels' accounts of the Last Supper. I want to read to you the very last supper mentioned in the Bible, from Revelation chapter 21. Then I saw a new heaven and a new earth. For the first heaven and the first earth had passed away, and the sea was no more. And I saw the holy city, the new Jerusalem, coming down out of heaven from God, prepared as a bride adorned for her husband. And I heard a loud voice from the throne saying, "See, the home of God is among mortals. He will dwell with them, they will be his peoples, and God himself will be with them. He will wipe every tear from their eyes. Death will be no more. Mourning and crying and pain will be no more. For the first things have passed away." And the one who was seated on the throne said, "See, I am making everything new." He also said, "Write this, for these words are trustworthy and true." And he said to me, "It is done. I am the Alpha and the Omega, the beginning and the end. To the thirsty, I will give water as a gift from the water of the tree of life. Those who conquer will inherit these things, and I will be their God, and they will be my children. But for the cowardly, the faithless, the polluted, the murderers, the fornicators, the sorcerers, the idolaters, and all liars, their place will be in the lake that burns with fire and sulfur, which is the second death." A wedding feast awaits us. A feast for a bride. And who is that bride? That bride is the church, his beloved people. We're invited to be part of a celebration and a happily ever after that really is happily ever after for all eternity. Everyone is invited to be a part of it. All you need to do is say yes. Say, I do, to God. And this simple meal of bread and wine, this communion with God, can be ours forever. Take care of yourselves. God bless.